On this program, we have spoken several times about the ambitious plans that technology companies have for building massive data centers. But how far have those plans really progressed, and are they on schedule? To get an overall view, let's start with an analysis that was done by JP Morgan last month that found that more than 60% of data center capacity that was planned for completion in 2027 isn't yet under construction, and another 7% is delayed. This is a major factor to consider because if most of the data center capacity isn't even under construction, it's unlikely that the AI companies will be able to meet the stated goals that they have put out. The delays are primarily operational and based on the difficulty of getting permits, sourcing the huge amounts of electricity and water, and of course the unpopularity of these data centers within American towns and cities. And the last 2 points are crucial, and we're going to talk about them. According to a Wall Street Journal article that was published on June 2nd, Google and other tech giants in recent months have announced significant upward revisions to their capital expenditure forecasts as the AI race necessitates this frantic construction of large buildings that are packed with servers, networking hardware, and cooling systems. Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, and Amazon last year collectively devoted $410 billion to capital expenditures, mainly on data centers, and are expected to spend more than $670 billion this year alone. So we can see that their data center plans are not stopping despite the challenges that we just mentioned, and in fact are continuing and even increasing. But what is interesting is that these firms are spending so much that the way they are funding these projects is changing in some ways. For example, Google just announced a plan to sell around $80 billion worth of shares to raise money for the data centers, whereas historically it would have issued debt for these types of projects. What happened as a result is that the parent company Alphabet ended up losing $340 billion in value over 3 days, which is its largest 3-day drop on record. Now, while that's not tragic, it does show that there is some concern in terms of the efficacy and likelihood of these plans materializing. The key issue here is how all these companies will be able to find electric power and whether or not they can generate their own power and their own energy instead of relying mainly on the grid. This year, Google became the only tech giant to own a power company with the $4.75 billion acquisition of Intersect, a wind and solar developer that in recent years has pivoted to building these sorts of data centers. Companies including xAI, OpenAI, and Meta have built or proposed building data centers powered by on-site gas generation. Other tech giants have bet on nuclear power. Microsoft, for example, in 2024, struck a deal with power producer Constellation Energy to restart the undamaged reactor at 3 Mile Island nuclear plant, which is the site of the worst nuclear accident in US history. But it is clear that it will be up to the AI companies to come up with ways to produce or to find this massive amount of electric power that is not just taking it from the grid. And here is where we will see the issue of general unpopularity of these data centers within American communities. According to a Gallup poll in March, 7 in 10 Americans oppose constructing data centers for artificial intelligence in their local area, including nearly half, 48%, who are strongly opposed. Barely a quarter favor these projects, with only 7% strongly in favor. Another example is the state of New York, which could soon pass a 1-year moratorium on the building of new data centers in the state, given pressure from voters. Therefore, as we close, it's important to remember the fact that large companies will always announce grand plans, but it doesn't mean that these plans will be easily executed. They may have the cash, and of course they have the operational track record, but they will need to effectively overcome the obstacles of energy, which looks doable, but the unpopularity of these centers moving to communities will be a much harder hurdle to overcome. If you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe.